So I saw a video yesterday of a gal talking about water quality at big tanks versus little tanks, and how bigger tanks are easier to keep the water quality in check. Well, that's not necessarily true, but I guess you could say there's some truth to it. In my opinion, they're even. It's the same. The problem where people run into with small tanks is due to budget or just space or whatever the reason is. They buy a small tank, but they want fish, which is perfectly understandable. But the amount of fish and the amount of food you put into this tank, whether it's large or small, is going to determine the water quality. And you have to have the adequate filtration to handle it. So, in my opinion, they're equal. You gotta have checks and balances. So if you get a small tank, you gotta limit the amount of fish. You gotta keep an eye on how much food you're putting in it. And I feed heavily, so I way over filter my tanks. This tank has two FX6s, a Sun 304B, a large sponge filter, an Expertmatic internal filter, plus I'm using anoxic filtration. And there's more pump in this system than I need. I don't need to move that much water. But surface area for bacteria, the amount of sponge I have on this system is adequate. And if you want to know if your filtration is adequate, the glass of your tank is a good indication. If you're having to clean your glass, and I don't mean algae, obviously algae is part of poor water quality, but if you're having to clean your glass because you get that like haze across it constantly, you don't have enough surface area in your filters. You need more sponge. And sponge is better than biorings, any of that stuff, the Matrix, Biohome, any of that stuff. Sponge is a better surface for bacteria to grow. So another good indication of whether you're keeping your tank clean enough, if you have enough filtration, all that kind of stuff, open the lid of your tank and smell it. If it stinks, has like an earthy, dirt, nasty smell to it, you don't have enough. This tank, when you smell it, you open the lid and you smell it, it doesn't stink at all. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been to the mountains and seen like one of those crystal clear lakes, and you get out there and you smell it, and you can smell the water, but it's like a fresh, clean mountain water smell. That's what this tank smells like. If you open your lid and you smell a sulfur smell, your substrate has got problems, and it's toxic to your fish. So, yeah, you have to have the amount of surface area proper for what you're doing in the tank, whether it's small or large. If you're having to clean your glass once a week or every couple of days, you don't have near enough filtration. This tank can go 2 months without cleaning the glass, and it looks perfectly fine. The back panel in there, not once in the last 3 years this tank's been set up has ever been cleaned. Never been touched. And you can see how low I took the water when I did the water change on this tank, and that's not because my nitrates, I took it down to about there. The backs of the fish were coming out of the water. But it's not because my nitrate was out of control. I mean, nitrates up to 100 ppm aren't going to hurt your fish, but it's not ideal for them either. But it's all the other stuff that goes into the water. As things break down, they get smaller and smaller, and it dissolves into your water, and that puts stress on your fish. Nobody talks about it. It's called TDS, total dissolved solids, and you can test this. I don't, because I put fresh water in my tanks all the time. I do an 80% water change in all my tanks, fry tanks, large fish tanks, every week, no matter what. It sucks, it's a lot of work, but it's the quality of life for my fish. And you can see they're very colorful, they're very healthy, And that's not because of the food I'm feeding, it's because of water quality. These fish are very large. There's no fighting. The red devils don't pick on anybody. It's because I feed my fish properly, twice a day, the proper size pellet. So everybody's happy. With the filters, a good indication that your filter's getting plugged up, and some people wait. I mean, you see videos on YouTube, they open the filter and all the sponges in there are just completely caked. There's a point when you need to clean your filter, and that is not it. The best indication for me when you need to clean your filter is the glass starts getting dirty quicker, because your filters are losing efficiency. Once parts of your filter start clogging up and water's not passing through it, it's not doing anything. So for this tank, I clean the fine filter pads, the floss type stuff, once a month. I open the tops of the FX6s, pull the fine filter sponges out, clean them out, put them back in there. I don't even have to pull the FX6s out. I don't drain them, anything. Just open the lid, take that one fine filter pad out, clean it, put it back in there. But as far as cleaning all the rest of it, it's probably about every 3.5, 4 months. And that's having 2 FX6s on here and the 304B. The large sponge filter, I never clean it. Every once in a while, if I have to start a new aquarium, I'll squeeze it out in that aquarium to seed the tank, but I never clean it. It just stays there. The Expertmatic, I use it for aeration and to take poop out of the tank. So every week when I do a water change, it gets cleaned. But yeah, once your filter starts losing efficiency by being overclogged, you'll know it. You'll see it in the water. You'll see it on the glass. Anyhow, I probably went off a little bit off topic, but yeah. The difference in water quality, big tanks and little tanks, in my opinion, it's the same. They both get the same nastiest, the same rate, and it's because of the load that people put on them. People get little tanks and they say, oh, I can have this many fish, but once the fish are full grown, it's too much. This tank is heavily overstocked. With the size of these fish, it's way overstocked. And that's why I have so much filtration on it. It's the only way I can have this big of fish feeding the way I do and maintain water quality. I know the ultimate goal for everybody is 0 water changes, and that's cool and all, but you got to realize the fish and the bacteria living in the tank need the nutrients, the minerals and everything that come in with the fresh water. They deplete the water of all that stuff quickly. Like bacteria, they use a lot of iron, so any iron that comes in your water, they pull out of it quick. So going to a 0 water change would be nice, but the fish still need new water. Because I have so many aquariums, and a lot of large aquariums, I installed a tankless water heater in my house. It's not one big enough to do the whole house, it's only big enough to do one faucet. It's only about 1 foot tall, about 6 inches wide. Installs under a cabinet in your bathroom or kitchen or wherever you want to put it, and it'll run one faucet hot water. So when I do water changes, like I do tank after tank and never run it of hot water, that one faucet is completely devoted to water changes. It's set to 80 degrees, and that's it. It was about $250, and obviously you have to install it. It doesn't run on gas, it runs on electricity, so you have to run wires for that too. It takes a big breaker, it takes a 60 amp breaker, but the amount of time it saves me is worth it. Instead of having to wait for your water heater to recover and go on to the next tank. But yeah, if you have a small aquarium, you're having problems with water quality, think about how much fish you have in there, and you might need to get rid of some, and I need to get another tank, or double your filtration. Do a larger water change. If you're doing 25-30% water change in an African cichlid tank, you are not doing your fish a favor. You might as well not even do it at all. Anyways, that's it.